And we are rolling.
Hi.
Hey, Kay, welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
So glad you're here. So we are, so this is not a really professional show. We just start off shooting the breeze. So first of all, how long did it take you to drive all the way out to Aurora?
Oh, no. 48 minutes from my
Oh,
place.
man.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Yeah, I
it's
feel
really,
bad.
Well, no, when you think about where we met, right at Cactus, it's really only that much more further from my house.
Okay, so speaking of where we met, so this is Kay Smith, everybody. Welcome to the Long Haul Marriage Roadcast. And we met at Cactus Canyon in Argyle.
We did.
And it's so cool. All of our listeners know that's one of our favorite places to go. We go a lot. Yes. And so Kay Smith is the general manager of Cactus Canyon.
I am.
And so one of the first things that I noticed when you came up to our table and we started talking and then you left, the first time I looked over at Jamie and I was just kind of watching her reaction and I thought, okay, that's somebody Jamie knows, right? And so then you came back and we talked again and maybe it was the second time we were there or something. But after like the second or third time, you walked away. I said, how do we know her? Like, she's so familiar. She's so friendly. Like, you have to have had her in a Bible study or a women's small group. Like, how do we know her? And what did you say?
I said, I don't know if I know her, but I feel like I know her. And so I feel like that's probably just how you come across. So first, let me say, we are not sponsored by Cactus Canyon, but if you have listened to our podcast for long enough, you think we are, because almost every episode, it finds itself into our episode because it is like our home away from home. So if it's our home away from home, you're the mom.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
you were like, I was
Y'all
like,
are gonna make me cry.
we know her. How do we know her? So you just have that feel. You have that energy that you put out. So
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you for making us feel welcome enough to where we want to come every week. I don't know that we can afford to keep going every week, but man, we love it so much.
We do. It is the best. I mean, I grew up in Dallas, Fort Worth. And so Jamie, moved from Austin to Fort Worth. So we know all the good Mexican food places. And at first I was like, yeah, really. And we went and it was a long wait because it's really, really good. And it was pretty new. But then once you got in, and let me go back. The Mexican food is the best. It's literally my favorite now. And that's I know there's the Papacitos, Uncle Julio's, Lupe Tortilla, Los Compadres. Like the way I rolled my R.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
And but no, it's the best. But what we noticed was like as soon as you sat down, not just one server, like multiple servers. It's the chips, it's the salsa, it's someone checking on you. And you order your drinks, an appetizer, got to get the poblano queso. And within seriously, under 2 minutes, I feel like the drinks and the queso was there. And then you're kind of making your decision, you order, and before you've got a few full on chips like you normally do, here's your entree. The service was impeccable. And then, like I said, it's not just your waiter or waitress, it's the hostess, it's the general manager, the shift manager, or whoever it is coming to check on you and making you feel so at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel bad for calling you my mom.
No, don't. I'm glad. I don't have any children, but I have that within me. And the majority of our team are really young and they're high school students from the area, and we train and teach them, and they're all coachable and they're amazing. And so I do feel like a mom. Wow, and sure. I'm in that restaurant. I'm deeply embedded into the restaurant. I've been on the project since foundation was laid, and I love it.
So you can tell it. I mean, it shows, and it wasn't contrived. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't someone trying to be that. You were just being you. And literally, I thought we know her. I've had a stroke or something. How do I not call her name? And that's why you're sitting here literally on the podcast. It's not like we ask every wait person we've ever had or general manager of a restaurant to come be on our podcast. We do love Cactus Canyon. It's in the Marty B family of all the restaurants and all the projects. So how did you find your way? I mean, they take service obviously very, very seriously. So I want to hear about the culture, and I want to hear, to be a general manager of a brand new Cactus Canyon in the Marty B family, that's a big deal. So what was your journey to getting there?
Oh man. So we have the director of operations there. He and I used to work together in Dallas. He was the beverage director, and I was the GM at Drake's Hollywood. And he just mentored me. My past is all most of my career is culinary arts. I was a chef for 16 years first, and then I taught at the Culinary School of Fort Worth for a little while. But between the speed it takes to be a chef in the industry to teaching, that was too much of a slower pace for me. So I figured coming into the industry in the middle ground would be in the front. And so Nathan, he's the GM there. I don't know if I should be saying his name, but
that's okay. Shout out to Nathan. hey to Nathan, we say.
Yeah. So anyway, he brought me on with Marty and Brian. I interviewed with them, but Cactus Canyon was still really far out. I'm not even sure that they had bought land yet. So there really wasn't a spot on the bus for me yet. So we just stayed in contact. I actually left my job where I was. They asked me, if you can stay there a little bit longer, that'd be great. But if you can't, don't go anywhere else. We'll bring you on. We'll find a spot for you. So what I ended up doing was...
Wow. So really intricate timing on that. It was trying to figure it out.
It was actually so beautiful because I was planning on buying a condo at that point in Dallas near my current position. And I wasn't interested so much afterwards. So instead of purchasing that condo, I did not stay at my current job. I quit and I traveled. I backpacked through 9 countries for 5 months and kept up with Marty and Brian.
Goodness.
They checked in on me. Nathan checked in on me during that time, just making sure I was happy, healthy, safe, and also still interested in coming on board. And we just coordinated the times where when I came home, they helped me figure out where the best location would be to move in. And I was able to work up until the point that Cactus was ready at each one of their locations, except for the large Marty B's. I didn't work there, but 1845, Rustico, Branded Bowls I helped open, and then we went into Cactus Canyon. And it's been an amazing journey. I feel like Marty and Brian have given me a little corner in their empire.
But again, to have that amount of trust put in you, that says a lot. I mean, that speaks a lot. So when you, how were you first familiar with the whole franchise?
It was through Nathan.
Okay.
Yeah. So he left our old company and came on board with them as the director of operations. I'm sure because Marty and Brian both knew they were going to be growing and they needed some help managing all of those locations. So I actually reached out to Nathan asking where he landed because he's the one who kind of polished me from being a chef to a front-facing general manager. Wow. You can imagine there's a little different from the back to the front.
Yeah.
And so when I reached out to him, he just told me how happy he was. And I took what we call, or not what we call, but what is a culture index, which is how we balance our teams in a lot of ways, and just make sure that we're bringing on people who are going to be authentically comfortable in the environment of the restaurant, which is organized chaos.
Yeah.
So if it's hard to push somebody in that direction if they're not naturally kind of made for it, with their personality type. And that kind of creates the culture, the happiness, because people are naturally the multitasking and quickly changing gears and adjusting and changes and flexibility.
So, I remember it's like every church in America. We used to work at a church full time, and they all, somewhere down the road, most of the large evangelical kind of mega churches adopted the whole leadership network and, hey, let's go learn how Chick-fil-A does their franchise model when people were going multi-site. So we learned a lot about the Chick-fil-A culture, the my pleasure. So there is definitely a distinct culture at Marty B's. So if you had to boil it down into the easy elevator speech, to let us in on what it is that makes the secret sauce of Marty B's, of Cactus Canyon. What would it be?
It's hospitality. I'm sorry. Water went down the wrong pipe.
You're fine.
No problem. I can edit out that cough.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
won't, but I could.
It doesn't bother me. It's hospitality. 22 years in the industry is what I have. And most places tend to forget that we're not just in food and beverage. We're not just in service. We are in the hospitality industry. And people forget what that means.
Yes.
And a lot of the things that I've come across through traveling helped me really understand what that is. That's acceptance of everyone walking in your door, treating treating you like you call it me, the mom there. That's my house. And I want you to, and just like you guys are so welcoming, bringing me into your house, giving me, offering me espresso and water and a comfortable place to sit. I'm going to do the same thing. And you need to know that it's genuine. If it feels forced, then people can sense energy, right? So it's really taking that hospitality and being genuine, and that all starts with hiring the right people, right?
Yes.
So they are genuinely interested in making sure you are having a great time and celebrating, and it's a special moment. And one of the things I like to tell the people in our orientation is there's so many differences across the whole world between who we are as human beings, for everything from religion and style to culture and food and language, all these differences. But it doesn't matter if you're the smallest tribe that's uncharted in the Amazons or living in New York City. One thing that we all do naturally, it's just engraved in who we are, is break bread together, right? And so what kind of special moments that we have to make an impact for people walking in and leaving. And that's a beautiful thing. We are in that industry.
Wow. Yeah,
I just love that. Because I knew hospitality is going to be a buzzword. This is the master of hospitality. But when you say that breaking bread, it doesn't have to be in a religious context. Many people put it there, but it is when you look at everything as spiritual, because like you said, no matter if you're in New York or the Amazon, you're a human being, and breaking bread is this sacred act of sharing a meal around, a fire. That's where stories were told. That's where values and priorities were passed down. That's where,
I got chills.
Yes. That's where people connect. And it is over that thing that you're consuming, you're putting things in that is literally giving you life or taking life from you. So, and it's very interesting when you look at it that way. It's not about, people argue about the elements in religious services, putting them in. It's not about these things transforming the elements. It's about, are you being transformed? Right. And so much of that is about the company you're with. And we hurry through. We don't appreciate, we're not grateful for what's giving us this sustenance that we put in our bodies. And so many times we just rush through, or people, and you see it, what's so sad, people are staring at their phones. They're not even connecting over this meal. Right. So anyway, that breaking bread, I love it.
Yeah.
Just had to comment on that.
So I'm sure you've heard of or have read the book Unreasonable Hospitality.
Oh, it's in our office.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Love it.
I quote it in our orientations.
It just hit me so deep down. I just resonated with so much. The power of giving people more than they expect. I feel like when we can grasp that, whether it's into your home, into your restaurant, into your store, if you can practice unreasonable hospitality, giving people more than they expect, man, they will keep coming back for more every single time. And I've always said, goodness, Marty, whatever he touches turns to gold.
A lot of people say that.
I mean, it is really about him and his heart. It really does come from the leadership on down. But you guys he has aligned not just, other people work, but all of his leaders. So in you, I mean, I am so amazed at what I see in you and how you drew us in, and you continue to draw us in. And so now, even in this podcast, hearing things that we don't even know you. Like, I thought, wow, she's really brave. What if we are killers, murderers, rapists?
It came with the 5 months of backpacking.
So
I have a good sense of energy.
She just came into our home today and said, sure, let me, I love doing podcasts. Let's get together. Let's do a podcast. But just to now even hear, I can't wait to dig into the part of your life that we know nothing about, which is everything. We don't know anything about you, but we felt like we knew you so much. So thank you for practicing that unreasonable hospitality. And so if anyone listening is in, reasonable distance to go to Cactus Canyon, you need to, just for the feel that we leave feeling better every single time.
Thank you.
It's one of those deals, seriously, that when I think about going, I get probably too excited. I get too excited when I know I'm going to Cactus Canyon to eat on a Thursday night. Yeah. But it is more than the food. I mean, again, it's great food, but it's this experience. And every time we just feel the warmth. It's like, who are we going to meet? Who are we going to talk to? And I remember the last time that you came and we talked at our table, it felt like we wanted to just invite you to sit down. Like literally, why don't you just sit down and eat with us? It felt like that. So you had removed every single barrier of the employee at the restaurant and the patron, and it was just we're human beings. Mm-hmm. So well done. Okay, 5 months backpacking in 9 countries. Did you go alone? Did you go by yourself?
I went alone.
Oh my gosh!
I went alone, and I didn't plan very much. I met people. I wanted to be transformed through the experience, but I was very open to how that might look. There were things that I thought that were for sure going to happen that I wanted to do, but I just followed my heart and felt God's presence. I did every step of the way, and I met some of the most incredible people. And I started in Switzerland with a girl that I had met through a travel channel on Facebook, and she's from California. We were both going to do the backpacking thing. So we met up in Switzerland. And we traveled together for a little while through Switzerland and Italy, and her cousin came with us. It was just an amazing time. But then we split up, met some other people, we did our own thing. I went through Spain, France, Austria, Greece, and just met amazing people along the way. The only place I had planned for sure was to leave Europe on November 11th. 11/11 is a big, beautiful number for me. Mm. And I was born at 11:11 a.m. Oh. Yeah, it's just one of the numbers things, right? So I left and went to India. And then I spent 1 month traveling from the top of India down to the bottom.
Wow.
I did have some connections. There's a Christian rock band called Flyleaf. I went to high school with the bass guitarist, and he has family in India, so I had a safe place to land in India. And then in Austria, I'd met some people from India, so I eventually left that house and traveled through and went and saw the Taj Mahal. And
yes, the Taj.
Yeah,
yes.
Went to Kabini and traveled through the back channels, the rivers. It was amazing. Just amazing. And then I left India and went to Thailand. Spent a week in Bangkok, met up with my best friend who I mentioned earlier when I got here. She has the Nespresso machine. Okay. We met up in Thailand for her 40th birthday, had a great week in Bangkok, and then I spent 3 weeks just island hopping after that. Just nowhere touristy.
So there was no, amazing. You knew roughly where you were going to go, but no itinerary as far as where you're going to stay. You just thought, I watched a guy on YouTube. This was years ago. It's like, I'm going to take, I think he started out with like $100 and he was going to travel around the world and just meet people and hopefully get put up wherever, right? Yeah. Hostels and homes and back seats of cars or rickshaws or whatever. So how was that kind of the mentality? Like, I'm just going to trust God for provision and for places to stay? Or did you set that up before you got there?
Yeah, okay. I definitely made sure I had somewhere safe to go everywhere I went. But I wouldn't really plan my next step until like a day or two before then.
Okay.
But I had an app called Hostel World. So I also wouldn't go to a place where that app wasn't active.
Gotcha.
I felt safe with it.
Okay. Interesting.
Which was most everywhere. There wasn't many places it wasn't. I did a little bit of couch surfing, a little bit of meeting people in Sri Lanka.
What inspired that trip? Like there's got to be a story.
It's great because this is the perfect podcast for it. So I was going through a divorce.
Okay.
And a change of everything. So the reason I was looking for that condo is because my ex-husband and I had decided to split up.
Okay. How long were you married?
3 years. We were together for 5.
Okay. And so this was how many years ago that you...
In 2022.
Okay. So you had just gone through this divorce and you thought, it's now or never. I need to heal, find myself, travel, all the things, right? Mm-hmm. So what was the one thing that pushed you like over the edge, thought it's like, I'm going to do this now?
Oh, okay. So it goes back to the 11/11 thing.
Okay.
So
born at 11:11 a.m. on November.
No, my birthday's in July. It was just on 11/11 a.m.
Okay.
But big monumental things have happened. I grew up with a single mom. And I met like my mentor when I was 13. Still to this day, I talk to her twice a week at least. Wow. And her birthday is 11/11, November 11th. Wow. So just there's little things throughout my life. But anyway, I was trying to get that condo, and I had gotten a phone call. I was at work. It was the end of the evening. We were closing. We were getting ready to close. All the servers were closing up. And my real estate agent called me and he had said, hey, I know like we felt really positive about this, but there was an all cash offer that came and took you off. Well, at this point, my ex and I were done. The house was done. Like I was banking on that. And so I was kind of frustrated, and I walked outside in our back dock area, and I just kind of started talking to God, like, I'm missing something. This is not generally how my life works out, where I'm at a crossroads, and I'm not even at a crossroads. I just don't know what to do. And I knew that my time was ending at my current position also because I'd already talked to Marty and Brian. So I was outside, and as I was talking to God, the thought, there's a difference between thinking and thought. I feel when thoughts come into your mind, that's divine intervention. And then we as human beings think and turn it into whatever it may be.
We ruminate, take it captive, or dismiss it, whatever.
Choose to do what it is, but it's something that comes to you.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, traveling, you're going to just take the money and run. And so I fantasized about it for about 30 seconds. And then I thought, oh, okay, I got to get back inside. I'm working. And I looked down at my watch, and it was 11:11. And I said, wow. I'm traveling. I literally walked back inside and started looking at the world map.
Wow.
Sold 90% of my stuff. I put in a 30-day notice to my job, finished the 30 days, used those 30 days to get things in order. I sold almost everything except for things that were really near and dear to my heart in my car. And then I just got a ride to the airport.
Wow. So I know. So
I need a mic.
I'm so moved just hearing how a really, really low point, devastating phone call opened up something in your brain. First of all, grieving the loss of this marriage, this dream, the way I thought my life would look, but able to take that disappointment and that heartbreak and just in a moment say, okay, God, it's all you. I need some help here. And that thought that came to you about travel and just your brain kind of opened up. It opened up literally a whole new world.
It did.
For you. And so I'm struck with how each of us could look back at the worst, most heartbreaking moments of our life, and how if we just hold them out with an open hand and say, God, can you take this mess and help me figure this out, what it could actually turn into, which is the most beautiful part of your life that you would never, ever trade.
Never.
I mean, we would have to do probably 4 more podcasts to encapsulate everything that you have learned.
Oh, I'm writing
a
book. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Writing a book. Yeah, she is.
Of course you are. Of course you are. You heard it here first, folks. So
who knows when it'll actually be completed, but.
Okay, so we hear, it's not just here, it's evident the Spirit of Christ is in you. And so you've talked a lot about your faith and crying out to God. And when you recognize, we totally agree, that thoughts are from God, so he chose a road for you because he gave you this journey that in the way of a thought, like, that's interesting. And then he confirmed it. So here's the way I want to heal you. Or here's the journey I want you to take to meet me so that this can be a part of your healing, right? Healing is this process. But you said raised by a single mom. When did she give you and nurture and instill that sense of faith? Was it your mom, a grandparent? Where did you find God?
So my journey through Christ is long, and my testimony is pretty heavy. But to put it in as many nuts and bolts as I can. Yeah. We grew up in Jehovah's Witnesses Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay. And that really did a lot of just a lot of negativity between all of us as a family. Yeah. And growing away from that, while also growing away from your family during that time.
Did you grow up in Texas?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was difficult because then your head you're not quite sure how to view God. But I started going to a non-denominational church. My high school sweetheart convinced me to try out the youth group, and just I've always had the intuition, and I could hear myself through, or I could hear God through me. I knew when I was being guided subconsciously. Like I don't think I recognized it as a young person, but I knew how to follow the feelings, like just naturally, I guess. And God speaks to us through many different ways. It's up to us to figure out how to hear it or how we follow it. But
And I love, sorry, I have to say this. We are so tracking, when you called it intuition and you said it sounded basically a lot like me, because you are the manifest presence of God. And that's New Testament theology. People get weirded out, but he literally chose to manifest through you. Yes. He created Kay in his image and said, it is good. Yes. So of course, and we're still thinking he's out there.
He's here.
Christ. So in the beginning was the Word with God, Word was God and became flesh and dwelt among us, right? Okay, thank you, Emmanuel, God with us, Jesus. But he went further. He said, I'm going away, and the new temple where I'm going to reside is in where? Not the temple made of hands, but in you. And this is not this overly hyper-religious thing. It's this recognition. And you, again, I love the word intuition. You felt it deeply, like he's speaking to me, and he sounds a lot like me because he's in me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it comes through, and through that, you begin to trust yourself. So anytime that you associate that feeling, you've proven it through yourself,
Yes.
And so there was just some really special moments through my very first interaction with a non-denominational church versus a Kingdom Hall, where it was a youth group, and the youth pastor just so happened to start talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, like that his family used to be a Jehovah's Witness. And I thought my boyfriend put him up to it. I was so mad. Right. I was like, this is sleazy, right? But it turns out that's not how things were at all. And it was just this message that God was trying to guide me through. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, my mom delivered a lot of teaching through me just from her own experiences and her heart. Still to this day, and I've met a lot of people. I don't think there's anybody that's ever been through so much in their lives than my mama did.
Wow.
I mean,
so she'll be a big part of your book, right?
Right. Yeah, of course. And for her to still have the heart that she does, and the love and the care, and just being she's still so pure in so many ways. So through just these little bits and pieces throughout my life, kind of is what brought me to God.
Wow. Yeah.
So I have a question. As a mom, I'm picturing my daughter, no matter how old you are or how young you are, you're about to take off on this. How long were you gone on your trip?
5 months, almost 5 months.
5 months to 9 countries. I would, as a mama, I would feel like, oh, here she goes. And just, I just pray she's going to be okay. So how was your mom when you told her what you were going to do?
Oh, she begged me not to. Yeah, she begged me not to. But we have this relationship, I mean, growing up, right? Like my mom and I were like this. So my mom trusts me also, like wholeheartedly. And she was able to get past it. She never stopped worrying, but she was able to get past it all because she knew that how deeply I felt about it, and she knew God would take care of me. And so we just stayed in touch the whole way through.
And when you raise an independent daughter, just be ready, because when she feels the call, you can't just clamp down and control. You've got to just let her go. Wow.
You use the word, and of course, when you're traveling, you have to be smart, and you use the word safety. You knew you had a safe place, or you weren't going to go to some place that wasn't safe. A woman traveling alone, and we gotta stay alive, right? So, growing up without a father, raised by a single mom, a lot of times that lack of feeling that someone's there. Not that we don't have strong, independent women, but a lot of times from a young age, it's that, is someone going to be there for me? Are they going to protect me? Will someone fight for me? All that. And did you, have any insecurity around that in your life? And then how did, after the divorce and then going on this healing journey, first, I want to hear what all God spoke to you. Because in the woundedness, whatever lies we believe that I believe are spoken to us through the wounds that happen, John Eldridge says, when he's talking in the context of father wounds, says, the wound carries with it a message, and the message seems final and true because it's delivered with such force. And so this is the anatomy of a stronghold. We believe a lie, and then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Mm-hmm. But as long as you have those old tapes playing, right, that old narrative, those old lies, you're stuck in bondage. Yeah. And so, if you will, I mean, to have no father growing up and then to go through a divorce, and did God as father and God as protector, God as provider, did he make you feel safe, basically? Is that what you've grown into?
Yeah, that's interesting to think about it that way.
Okay.
I think a lot of my safety came from myself, right, and my mom. That's how. So I kind of learned to just keep myself safe. Mm-hmm. And it's all through trusting too. But yeah, it's so hard to put it into words and to articulate exactly what that feels like. As 100%, God was one keeping me safe. He guided me. He kept me from going into areas or places or making decisions or put roadblocks. Kept me. There were times where I was literally stuck. I was in Europe. I don't even remember what country it was. It was a layover, and I got stuck in a part of the airport where there was nobody at my counter. I had this ticket. I was supposed to get on this plane, and there was no one there to let me in or out. And I could see people through this glass window, and I'm like trying to knock on it and get their attention. And nobody was coming. I missed my flight. Well, I found out later that the hostel that I was going to, there was like this huge fight that broke out, and somebody's stuff got broken into, and a bunch of people were robbed. That's where I was headed.
Thank you, God, for protecting me from that.
There's a great example of it. Yeah. There were things like that. So even if I didn't feel it at first, God prevented me from going where I wasn't going to be safe, which just made me go even harder and faster and stronger in the direction I was going.
I was just going to go on what Brian was just asking about. What are some of the top highlights, top memories, top moments that you, either just top moments of your trip or top moments that you remember hearing distinctly from God? He, gave you a thought, changed your mind, changed your heart, healed you in a moment?
Yeah, I've got two that come to mind. First, in Switzerland, it was the most beautiful place I've ever been. And it was in October, and it was beautifully green. Nothing was white. Everything was green. And one of the things I constantly practiced was being in the moment, Whatever was going on, I was 100% in that moment. And I went through so many different cities. There's 72 waterfalls, and it's near Grindelwald, Switzerland. And we were at the top of one hill, but there's nothing but mountains and hills in every direction, and it's all green and beautiful. And the sky was the most gorgeous blue with big white fluffy. I mean, it was like a storybook.
Wow.
It was like a storybook. There was little houses, and all of the houses were made with these big wooden shingles, right? Like it's just shingle, like looks like little gingerbread houses everywhere. It was storybook, very much storybook. And I sat at the top of this hill, and I just breathed, continued to breathe and take it all in. And then the church bells started going off, and you could hear them echo through every part of everywhere, all around you. And there was, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just telling you, there were like peach trees right next to us and apple trees, and we were like able to just pull them right off and eat them. I felt like I was in the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
I felt like I was surrounded by God, and I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And that was a beautiful moment. I've got videos and all kinds of things I could share. But then there was one for safety where I like physically, or I don't know how you would say it, but I heard God get me out of danger. Definitely don't want to go into the story because it's pretty heavy, but woke me up from a dead sleep saying, I know my name's Kay, but my real name is Christine. Just in my ear, Christine, get up. that it woke me up.
Wow.
And I totally forgot about it for a long time after getting out of the situation I was in. And then I went back and read my journal. I kept a very thick journal the whole way through.
Good.
And I came across that story, and it just threw me back into to that moment. Like that's there. He is there.
Yes.
God is there, and He is protecting you and protect.
Yes.
I got out of that situation.
Yes.
So
When you say you're a huge intention of yours through this trip was to be present right where you were every single minute, I think that changes everything. I think other people could take that trip and just think, oh, this is beautiful. But they're thinking, where's the next place I'm going? Right. Or what time are we going to do? Oh, and let me be, and miss so much of what you just soaked in because of your intention. Mm-hmm. So what could that change for us if every single morning, whether we're in Switzerland or down here in Texas, and just say, I want to be where my feet are today. I want to be present and open. Even when we were, at Cactus Canyon and met you, I mean, we were really just a part of that moment. We weren't just on our phones scrolling and busy. We were enjoying the moment. And that's when we were able to meet you. And I think our energy just kind of what we were open to each other and which led to this moment. I just think so much changes in our life when we set that intention every single day to be present.
Yeah. At least take some time out of every day to be present in the moment.
It's interesting because you practicing the presence. I don't know if you've heard of Henry Nouwen or, Thomas Merton, Richard Rohr, some of these contemplatives, but that practicing the presence, once you've done it a lot, you can tell that it's become part of who you are because as she said, it's not like you had to try to do it. It's like you've learned, I'm going to be present in this moment. Mm-hmm. And so at the table with us, when you're talking, it's not like you had it. I know you had things to do and places to be, if you will, but you made it feel like here's where I'm supposed to be. Here's where I'm meant to be, and I'm not in a hurry. I'm going to spend time. So you were there. You were present where your feet were. It was evident, and it made it feel like, hey, do you want to sit down and talk? But that's a gift. Yeah. The gift of your presence to us. And obviously, if you trust that God is where you are, see, that's the deal. He's not out there, right? We just miss that. If he's here, if he's internal, and he's going to provide for you, he's going to protect you, he's going to, speak to you when you need to be warned. Christina, wake up. Yeah. Christina? Christine.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go K.
I started going by K
Christine with a K.
years ago, yeah.
But that is it for us. It's like learning to practice the presence and be okay with that. I think we're all in a hurry. We're all distracted. We're all have this FOMO. We think we need to be anywhere else other than where we are. Mm-hmm. And that peace that comes with not being in a hurry and not needing to be anywhere else, that just shows, again, the internal trust you have that this is where God is. Mm-hmm. So that's very, very cool. And the fact that you have the videos, you have the journals, and now going to be a book, that'll be fascinating. That'll be real. So tell me if you can. I mean, again, these are some big, big questions, and to even boil it down sometimes can seem minimizing in some ways. But the difference in the woman that left on that trip versus the woman who came back from that trip, is there a way to articulate the way you felt after having done that? It's
not so much a way to articulate that. I had already been on a journey of change before I left. And it started with me leaving my career as a chef. That was a burnout. That felt like a heavy divorce in itself. I was very passionate about cooking. That's all I've ever done my whole life. So through that, I hired a career coach. I did not work for 4 months before going into the culinary position. I started working on a program to mentor like entry-level leaders in the restaurant industry. Specifically chefs. And that right there is where a lot of my mindset change started happening, which is why I feel like I was capable of having that open mind to just go and travel. And then going through all of it and coming back, the biggest takeaway from all of it that really was a seed and continued to grow in me is understanding that, like earlier you were talking about, the truth will set you free. Well, the truth can be viewed in a million different ways, and perception is what the reality is. So I was able to find out and learn more about myself and my who I am as a person by cutting my own thoughts or my own beliefs or my own things. Limiting beliefs, and hearing people's stories and just really absorbing their paths and their journeys and what's important to them in all these different countries. And then coming back home to United States, to Texas, after spending the majority of my time in third world countries. It made me appreciate everything so much more and life in general, and be a lot more minimalistic. And let go of things that don't matter, including situations, including conversations. But it also has kind of heightened or enhanced my overthinking too. So to articulate it in a way that it's going to make great sense, it's very difficult because it's all things that happen internally. It's like a spider web of things that I get and I understand, but it's hard to deliver. But I think the most has been just the value of other people's perception versus your own.
Wow. You have to go check out Peter Rollins. Okay. So this is cool. So Peter Rollins, I was thinking we can talk offline, but everybody needs to hear this. So go check out Peter Rollins. So Rollins. He's a philosopher from Belfast, Ireland.
I love philosophy.
And he, I would say, begrudging theologian. It's like he got dragged in because of some of his relationships and friends in the evangelical world. And at a time where people were just, burning the ships on fundamentalism and finding something new without being called heretics, and sometimes, in some cases, being called, blasphemous or a heretic. He used psychoanalysis and philosophy to explain a lot of the things that would make you, if you're open to it, would make you kind of not embarrassed or ashamed, but make you critique your own beliefs from within. So basically, realizing that the fundamentalist is not the person who and deconstruction, if you will, from that. It wasn't the person who didn't believe it enough. It was the person who believed it all the way, and it didn't work. It fell apart. Yeah. But one of the things he talks a lot about is the other. And that's weird. That's different. That's the other. That's foreign. It's like realizing you are the other. Mm-hmm. You're the foreigner. Mm-hmm. You're the one. And so being able to have, he practices atheism for Lent. It's so interesting. And this Lent. Guy, yes. But it's one of these things like, I'm going to let that critique me. Mm-hmm. It's not thinking you got it all figured out. It's realizing this egocentric, self-referential way you view the world is just that. I mean, it's just because you're selfish. So, yeah. And then Richard Rohr gets into the second half of life. It's losing your container that you were taught. And it's great to have a good, solid container. Mm-hmm. Start with order, because if you start with chaos, then sometimes God or religion becomes your order. But anyway, so interesting. Yeah, that's deep. And I
really like it.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. But basically, it's realizing that this is humility. You learn from other people. You weren't there to like, here, let me bless you with my presence. I'm going to gain something from you. Yeah. When Jamie and I, we went twice to Mumbai, India. And by the way, we didn't get to go south. Like, I heard Goan food is amazing.
Yeah.
And the beaches are pretty.
Goa. I thought about it. But.
Yep. But every time we went on a, quote, mission trip, I came back way more changed and way more blessed than I did any blessing or changing. It's that transformation when you have your belief systems totally disrupted. It's not confirmation bias. It's where, oh, yeah, I'm right. It's when you realize, oh my gosh, I was way off. Mm-hmm. Like I was way off.
Humility sets in.
This is when death happens and the resurrection. Mm-hmm. It can only happen after death. And most of us are still propping up our old selves and our old beliefs and all that. So anyway, Peter Rollins.
All right. No, I'll definitely check him out.
Yeah, there's a couple of YouTube videos I always recommend, and it's so hard to hear because the audio usually is bad on that because they've just captured him on their iPhone or whatever, and the thick Irish brogue. But once you kind of tune in and can hear him, gosh, it's been literally. I mean, she watched me go through a huge transformation just with a couple of teachers like that. Mm-hmm.
I think there's something so valuable putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. You know, we talk a lot about every morning we start off in the cold plunge for 3 minutes, putting ourselves in a freezing cold water to say, this is going to represent what I am going to choose to do with my life. I'm going to intentionally put myself in uncomfortable situations, because so much growth can happen when you put yourself in, you know, an uncomfy situation, which is pretty much when you decide, I'm going to go to 9 different countries in 5 months. I am literally leaving my comfort zone. You know, we can stay in our homes and we can have our little routines and our schedules, and, you know, that feels so good. And it really does. It feels good. We're, you know,
Feels safe.
Yes. But to intentionally say, okay, I'm about to pull myself out of my roots and go to new places, and not even really, even if you have a plan and an itinerary, even in that still feels like, I don't know where, I've never been to these places before. Well, then you just show up with like kind of making it up as you go along a little bit, you know? So I can imagine what kind of growth, I mean, exponential growth you must have gone through so how was that? Did you have, coming back after 5 months, tell me, I've, you know, heard of that, the reverse culture shock. So what was that like coming back to Texas?
To be honest with you, I missed home. Yeah, I definitely had felt homesick throughout my journey. Not enough to make me want to come back home too early, but in Sri Lanka was my last country, and I had an amazing time there, and I wish I could have stayed longer. I wanted to go to Bali after. I wanted to go to Indonesia, maybe even Australia, but that's a big chunk of land. But I fell on some hard times. I had lost my debit card, and I really needed that debit card. Well, I still had my travel credit card. Well, then I lost that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was wild. It wasn't all in Sri Lanka. The debit card was in Thailand, and I had my bank send me one to Sri Lanka because I knew I was going to go there next. And it landed. It showed it had landed in Sri Lanka, but then they sent it back as non-deliverable. And I was like,
Great.
It's not like it's just going down the street, you know, or the next city over. It was going all the way back to the United States. So thankfully, I had my emergency cash on me. Once that cash was over, it was time to go home. So by the time I got home, I was very happy to be back home. I remember flying over Dallas and seeing the Cowboy Stadium and seeing the Reunion Tower and seeing like all of our home.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And I love Texas. I'm born and raised in Texas. I'm Texas proud, you know. And the coolest thing too is that in all these different countries, you don't have to say United States, Texas. People know Texas everywhere you go.
You just say Texas.
You just say Texas. Yeah. So it was great to come home.
Great.
And I spent time traveling and visiting family before I actually settled and started working again. But yeah, I had learned so much through the different, Sri Lanka and India especially. And then island hopping and in Thailand too. There's this simple ways of life, but even more so how hard people worked. And even more than that, how close they were with their family. Families live together, right? Not just mom and dad and kids. No, like aunts and uncles and
it's the way it used to be everywhere. We've gotten so, especially in the U.S., post-Enlightenment, in the West, we've gotten away from that.
Yeah. People are, I've seen some videos and stuff lately where people are getting back to that. They're buying big lots of
communes.
Land. Yes.
It's what she wants to do.
All about it.
I love it. I love that idea. I always thought it would be cool to buy land and have a bunch of mini houses that you kind of like rent out or sell, and then have a community garden and everybody contributes to it. And
I'm sure you've seen the tiny house documentary.
I have seen
tiny
a couple
house.
of different,
Okay. And then what was the one on minimalism? Like another documentary? Just on that, when you said like less is more kind of thing, just downsizing and getting rid of stuff. So you can plead the fifth on any of these questions, but being a single woman in Dallas, Fort Worth, what's that experience like these days?
Well,
are you in the dating scene?
I am now.
Yeah.
So, I was single the whole time since I came back home. I've dated, I've met people, but nothing that was long lasting.
Right.
But I was just talking to him on my way over here. I was like, it's so funny that this is the topic and the type of podcast I'm going to speak on, because if you would have asked me a month and a half ago, I probably would have been a little less loving
Open?
sounding.
Okay,
right?
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
dating has been terrible. It's been terrible. And I feel like I've got a lot to say in a relationship, and just I want someone to witness my life with me. But between my career and where my mindset is, that pool of men that can contribute to that is kind of small.
Yeah.
And not just small, but it's not just contributing to that, but are you going in the same direction as me? You don't have to be going at the same speed. We can be going at different speeds, but in the same direction, because any other direction is going to yank me off of the path.
A life vision. You want
Yeah.
somebody that has, some alignment. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so finding that has just been, but this guy came into Cactus a while back, and remembered me, and then came back like 2 weeks after that. And I, of course, went and said hello to him sitting at the table. He was on the patio, and I asked him what brought him out, and he said, "You did."
Wow. Wow. What an answer. Wow.
know. So
kaboom.
Yeah, we've been dating for just a little over 5 weeks, but I really like him, and he's very genuine, and we've had some pretty amazing, deep conversations, which is that intellectual conversation, and then emotional intelligence, I think, means more to me than a lot of other things.
Of course. Good.
Yeah.
So I just have to say, I feel like since you're kind of our mom, or maybe we're your mom and dad, I feel like we need to approve. Like we need to maybe we need to have a double date and just give him the stamp of approval.
Oh, I think that would be fun.
And I do premarital counseling. We both do premarital counseling. I know 2 really good wedding officiants.
Hey, Marty Bees is throwing up the reserve.
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
We are 5 months or 5 weeks in.
We're
right?
just joking. We're just joking.
Yes.
If he hears this, just joking. So for a lot of the younger, we have some good 20-something listeners, and we were just talking to one earlier today, and she was talking a little bit about the dating scene, this Hinge and Bumble and swiping left and swiping right.
I had no patience for that.
Okay, so tell me, give me some of your, for those people who are just finding it to be a shit show, can we say that on this podcast?
Well, you did.
The dating scene, just this nightmare. Like, what are some of the pitfalls and nightmare stories? We hear some.
Okay,
and we
I've
see
got
some.
a good story.
Okay, yeah.
I do. Okay, so this one's so crazy. So I did do a little bit of the online dating, right? Because I didn't, especially moving out here from Dallas, I didn't know anybody coming back home. So I went on this date with this guy. I think he was on Match.com. And first, he seemed successful. He seemed smart. We talked on the phone a couple of times. So we decided to do a brunch date. So there's 2 different, I got to give you some context before we go into the date. So I was just recently working at 1845. I just recently come back home from traveling. 1845 was the first restaurant in our concept or in our brand that I worked at. And there's a manager that works there that's really into a lot of different types of games. And there's one game that I used to play with my friends when I was much younger, when I was like 17, 18 years old, a board game. And I could never remember the name of it growing up. And every so often, every year at least, there'd be a week or 2 where I'd be trying to find it. Typing in a description on Google or talking to somebody about it. There's these little aliens and you attack each other and every card means something different. I don't know. So I'm talking to this manager at 1845 because he's such a gamer, and he's sitting there and we're talking about it, and he's Googling, is it this one? Is it this one? I'm like, no. So all of that conversation goes on, never finding the game. So then I go on this date with this guy and brunch, and he made me, I let him pick the place. I wanted him to pick the place. He picks the place across the street from his house, but it's 45 minutes from mine. Oh. He walked there. Not only that, this is just like the beginning, right? So rude. So not only was it that far of a drive for me, but it was in a shopping center that had a stadium with an event going on and was valet only. So I ended up in a valet line for 15, 20 minutes. It was just ridiculous. I was like, well, I should have just went home. Right. Oh. But I didn't. I parked. I went inside, and I was like, well, maybe the conversation will at least be good. Please let the conversation be good. And when I saw him, he did not look like his pictures. So
of course, I've heard that before.
Yeah. So there's that. He looked much older than his photos. But the conversation was okay, right? It wasn't anything outstanding or crazy, but it was okay. Well, he had this big Great Dane, and he was like, do you want to come take my dog on a walk with me? I got to go let him out. I want to take him on a walk. And I'm like, okay. So we go across the street, pick up his dog. And while we're in there, he's like getting the harness on him and doing all the things. And he goes, oh, do you like to play games? And I was like, yeah, I love playing games. So he opens up his cabinet and there's the game.
Oh,
yes, right there front and center. I had like this attack. I was like, what?
He was probably
what? Yeah. Like, how did, so the game is called the Munchkin. Or Munchkin.
Okay,
yeah.
Munchkin.
And there's different variations of it. But it was like, so then I was intrigued. I was like, oh, remember we talk about little signs and things. Wait a second. I'm like, okay, so don't be so judgmental. Maybe this guy's something.
Maybe there's something there after all.
I know. Not only is it a game I haven't played in years.
Looking and searching.
Just the night before, I was talking about it with another manager. So I took it serious and I was like, okay, so we'll hang out a bit longer then. So we take his dog on a walk, bring his dog back upstairs. Then we go back down towards that shopping center to go have like appetizers and just kind of hang out. Well, I'm fine. I mean, I had a couple of cocktails. I'm not drunk by any means. And so did he. But suddenly he gets real pale. And we're sitting at this table and he gets real quiet. And I'm like, are you okay? Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm just listening to you talk. And he's a big man. He's like 6'2", 6'3", big dude. And we're matching each other for drinks. And I'm not drunk. So I don't know what's going on with this guy. And then he turns around, runs off the patio that we were on, and violently pukes. For like 10 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes. It was long enough for me to text my friend and be like, this guy's throwing up.
Bug?
I don't know if he took something. I don't know. But he just sat there and just let it out. All the people.
Violently retched.
It was so embarrassing. I was like, I'm with this guy, but I am not with this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
good.
Yes, it was awful. I'm like, why did you couldn't have run a little further? Like people can see you.
Oh, God.
Oh, it was just so embarrassing.
Womp womp.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to let you go. I hope you feel better. But I mean, I figured out the game, so now I have the game at my house.
Well, that's all. Maybe that's what that was for. You just needed to know the name of the game.
He was the Munchkin Match.
The MunchkinMatch.com.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what's cool is and inspiring is the fact that for a lot of people out there who've gone through bad experiences online, dating, horror stories, but also a divorce, that you're actually putting yourself back out there. But it's not something that it sounds like. You know who you are. You've got a really strong sense of your own identity and God in you, and you're looking for someone who can, hey, can you match that? Can you be who you are?
Ugly,
can you be part? Yeah. Cool. Well, Kay, we so thank you for doing this. If there's one last thing you want to say to people about Cactus Canyon, what do you want to tell everyone? Because we will see you very, very soon. Or life, sure.
No, I mean, I'll kind of bring it in all together.
Plug. Yeah.
I spent 22 years in the hospitality industry, never really witnessing hospitable moments at any of the restaurants. But Cactus Canyon and our Circle Star brand is truly something to not just experience, but to witness. And it's a beautiful thing. Our managers, to the team, every step of the way, people do genuinely care. It's a great place to just be, authentically and not in a hurry and in the moment, and do that while enjoying some incredibly good food with some incredibly crafted cocktails, and it's truly an experience that's worth it, even if it isn't at a reasonable distance.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Well, we will see you there very, very soon. Yeah.
Well, please let me know when you come.
We will. And if you go, ask for Kay Smith, and she will take care of you.
For sure.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks.